Hello everyone, and welcome to the final park tour of Fantasy Kingdom in Parkitect. So let's get into it. So here we are at the entrance gates to Fantasy Kingdom. Now it feels strange to look at this entrance now because it's quite nostalgic. I started the park about 8 to 9 months ago, and I haven't really looked at this entrance since, to be honest. But obviously I do remember building it. And the entrance itself was heavily inspired by the Disneyland Paris entrance. It follows similar architecture. This took quite a while to build because, as you can see, these roof pieces are all custom made, all individual. I don't know if the game's been optimised a bit since then, because when I first put this in it was laggy even with just this building and nothing else. The entrance plaza itself is very simple. There's just a fancy looking fountain, some trees, the monorail running across, and then straight into the entrance gates. I found it a bit challenging to find where to put the sign, so in the end I just put it either side of the gates here. I think that works quite well. So going into the park, just before we start I will mention all the rides and attractions are open. They're all free to ride, but there's a £60 park entrance fee for this park. There are 928 guests in the park at the moment, but a lot of the building I have done for the park was on pause mode, so whether they're evenly spread around the park or not, I'm not sure. Anyway, as we come in, we've got some very Disney-esque style buildings here. This wasn't intended to solely be a Disney park, just take a lot of inspiration from Disney and heavily themed other parks like Phantasialand, Europa Park, anywhere like that, really, that has heavy theming. So there's some nice sort of Disney-esque facades here as we come down the main street. This building was inspired by Disneyland Paris. As much as I try and excuse it, it's not a Disney park here. It kind of is. I just wanted to go crazy with the theming for this one, basically. So we've got some nice varied types of architecture, almost a bit Art Deco with this one, and just some classic sort of theme park stuff that you see. Behind we have the backstage areas where the staff will obviously use. I've tried to keep things as hidden as possible, with foliage and stuff, so that you can't see much from the main street itself. And then we come into the middle roundabout section. Obviously this is all very Disney, this layout, because we then come to the weenie of the park, which is the star centerpiece, I guess, which is this lovely sort of castle-y temple style building, which is inspired by all sorts of different European architecture that I ripped from various reference images, and I wanted it to sort of stand out and show the different theming ideas, I suppose, that we have around the park, although it doesn't necessarily show each themed area directly. It just gives you an idea of what the park's all about, I guess. And this was quite a big build. It took me quite a lot of hours to make this, using various pieces. My favourite part is this tower here with the clock and all the detailing on it. This is a very heavily detailed building, and yeah, I'm very happy with how that came together. What way should we go first? I should probably do it in order of how it was built, but no, right, we'll go into the Adventureland, which is an Arabian / Indian / adventure themed area. Mainly tried to take references from images of buildings in India for this one, because I haven't seen it done loads before in the game, so that was the main inspiration. Come to our first ride then, which is the Wipeout, I think, isn't it? Yeah, it didn't give that one a name, so it's just a Wipeout. We have a restaurant building here. This Spice Lounge, which is an Indian restaurant, was inspired from something I built in Planet Zoo ages ago. I just wanted to see if I could recreate the architecture in Parkitect using tiny little pieces here, using a lot of the fantasy letter pieces from the Better Letters pack, which is a nice little trick that I found you can do. Stuff around here is just to cover up the backstage areas really. We have a kids ride here, some shops and stalls and toilets and all that type of thing. Then there's the obligatory magic carpet ride, which you have to have in this sort of themed area. Pretty standard stuff. And we come to the star attraction for this area, which is a river rapids. You can see the stats on that. I suppose you don't really need to see the stats on the rapids. But should we take an on-ride? Where does it start there? It feels like so long ago I built this now. Before Christmas, I think. Oh god, it's a nightmare trying to find the right one. Yeah, there we go. So we'll take a ride on the river rapids. Here we go. So there we go, that was the Rapids ride. What did we call that? River Rapids. I'm sure I made a name for it because there's a sign down here. The Ganja Falls, that one's called. I just forgot to name the ride. Probably something I should have done before I started this video. Checked all the things like this. But yeah, anyway, it's a heavily themed rapids ride. That took absolutely ages to build, but I'm quite happy with some of the detailing that we've got on there, like this sort of Aladdin-inspired build here. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the adventure area. A little bit of backstage there, which joins to the next area as well, which we will now get onto. These were another Disneyland, Adventureland inspired build. So we've got the little market stalls here, which is one of my favourite things about the area. I thought that really added some nice detailing to it. Fortune teller there. So as we come through, this is sort of a pathway to combine this with the next area. So we've got the crashed Jeep and stuff, and some crates there, and we've got some buildings that now take you into the post-apocalyptic area of the park, which we called Dark Ridge. Okay, so here's the entrance. We have the wing coaster flying across. I tried to make a what's that element called, like a post box element or whatever it is. That's not the right name for it at all, but you know what I mean. It just didn't seem to work out how I wanted with the layout of the coaster, so in the end I just built these a bit wider so that it could get through. And yeah, this area was basically just placing hundreds of rocks. This is another area that took me absolutely ages to complete. This is probably several videos with time lapses. And yeah, most original name ever for the coaster is Apocalypse. And let's take a ride on it. As you come into the queue line actually goes through this sewers area, which is all underground, which I thought looked really cool. And yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then the station building here is a post-apocalyptic, I can't say that word, post-apocalyptic building. And these are the stats for the coaster. There we go, so that was Apocalypse. Yeah, that's possibly, that's my second favourite coaster in the park, I think. As you can see, there was a nice triggered effect there at the end with the fire as well. And then we just go through to the brake run, which is in this other post-apocalyptic building. As you can see here, we've got a transfer track and a maintenance shed for all the realism there. I'd say it's not a standard wing coaster layout, but it's, you know, using the typical elements that you see on one of these B&M wing coasters. So that worked out quite well in the end. I think the other way to view this area would be to do the tour. That should be the right vehicles. This is Dark Ridge Jeep Tours, which basically takes you around the whole area, and you can really get a feel for this post-apocalyptic land. So there we go, the Dark Ridge Jeep Tours Company. Yeah, I'm really happy with that one, how it worked out hiding all of the track with scenery, so it just looks like they're going around on their own. That's probably not the most realistic thing ever, but I definitely went for aesthetics over realism there. I just think it works so well. We have the little crashed plane here as well, lots of typical post-apocalyptic sort of buildings, a factory over the back, the sewage sort of water. and this big sewage plant here, all overgrown with foliage and bushes and stuff. And yeah, this is definitely my favourite area of the park, and probably the area that I spent the most time working on. Slightly inspired by the Swarm at Fort Park, although take it to a whole nother level, I guess. So, moving on to the next area of the park then, we have the Wizards and Fairy Tales area. Now, I remember this one very well because I had plenty of time to work on this at the time, so I got it together quite quickly. And yeah, this would be the family and kids section of the park, with the more family-friendly rides, although there is still a big coaster here. This would sort of be a family thrill coaster, I think. Maybe along the lines of something like Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens in Tampa, where anyone can ride it, but it does have an inversion on it. Before we get to that though, I'll just show you some of the theming. So I built like a wizard style fake sort of facade shop here, a little bit Harry Potter inspired, but that wasn't necessarily the theme we were going for. This is just a really out there sort of funky, whimsical almost fairy tale type build, fantasy build. Really like this building, I think it looks nice. Not sure what it is, a couple of shops or stores maybe in there. And yeah, moving over here we've got the carousel and the teacups, just standard kids rides there, with the Merlin wizard over the top there with his magic wand. I think that looks pretty cool. A family style roto drop ride, not too high, not too intense, but it comes up in the tower and spins round where you get a good view out to the park. That guy's got a snowman head on, very cool, and then just drops down there. Then we come to the facade, the weenie I guess for this area, which is heavily inspired by the building at Efteling. I really hope that I got that right. It's at Efteling. Is it Symbolica? The dark ride there that I think this facade's based on. But yeah, that comes together looking really cool in the end. I was really happy with that. And then we come to the coaster. I love this coaster. I think it looks really good. Sort of inspired by the Let coaster, is it at where is that, Legendia or somewhere, where it has the inversion going through the station almost, and going back to basics a bit with the station build here as well. Sort of almost did it without too many mods or anything, just to have that classic Parkitect feel. What have I done there? I've gone back to the other ride. Apologies as well for the audio quality, the audio volume's going up and down a bit. I just realised I'm moving my head a little bit too much away from the microphone, so I'll try and make sure that's adjusted for the video. These are the stats in, and this is Wizard's Curse. Here we go. we go then. One thing that I forgot to mention is that it's a multi-launch coaster as well. So I'd assume that this would be built by Intamin or someone like that. For all you coaster nerds out there, got a bit of backstage area here as well, nothing too crazy. Covered up the section where it comes back for the launch. I think this is all made possible by the Booms and Blooms DLC when they released the sort of switch tracks and stuff. But then I think to get it on this coaster type I used Coaster Anarchy. I'm not sure, it's quite a while since I built all this. And then some nice scenery pieces in the background as well to make it all come together. This is my favourite coaster in the park, I think. I was really, really happy with how this one looked in the end. Yeah, very proud of that one. So let's move on to the next themed area. Here we have the Everest style area. I don't really think I've named this area or anything like that, but it's highly inspired by Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom, obviously, with that sort of Himalayan Asian theming, but in a different way to the normal Asian theming. And I think I pulled it off quite well, like with this station building, just thinking of what you would see in a Himalayan sort of mountain village with some of the nice sort of turquoise colours and stuff added to the trims here to really bring out the idea of the theme I was looking for. Some lakes that look like they would be cold, I guess. It's really cool when we got the option to change the watercolour. I think that was a game changer for me when it comes to theming. This is exactly like Expedition Everest when it comes down and does this drop into the helix. Yeah, obviously a Vekoma mine train or something like that. And then there's some nice little buildings up in the mountains here, just to add that scenery to it. Oh, it's raining, very good. What I'm going to do is skip past the raining, because I just feel like it goes too dark when it rains in this game. This building here is probably my favourite building in the area. I think I did this almost without mods at all, because again I wanted to take it back to basics a bit at this point, not get carried away with the mods. This is a cool little trick, using these borders for detailing there. I think that comes together really well. And that would be the main restaurant building for the area as well. So the ride is called Himalayan Mission. Those are the stats. Let's take a ride. Now obviously there's a lot of that coaster that you don't see because it's all hidden inside the mountain itself. This took a long time to build, this mountain, as you can probably imagine, completely ripped off from the Everest one as well, Animal Kingdom. And with the fake track end, I think that is actually an Expedition Everest mod, as are the trains. But yeah, I love this. It's one of my favourite coasters in real life, and just recreating it for this, but with a little bit of a twist. I think came together really well. That's about it for this area. There's just one little flat ride here. If I could change anything, I probably would have put more flat rides in the park, because we didn't have that many in the end, but you know, it's one of those things, I guess. So we come through into the final themed area for the park. This is the Steampunk area, a theme which I'll never do again because I really struggled with this one. As you can see, the first thing you see is my first attempt with Freedom 2K, which I think worked out okay in the end. Just a big flat ride skin for this 0G or whatever it's called, transformer. And yeah, doing some rounded stuff here. Although I don't think that was even with Freedom 2K, to be honest. I think that was just using rounded pieces. But yeah, I think it came together quite well. The main thing I struggled with here was trying to fill out the area with lots of detailing and stuff, not making anywhere look empty because it's a massive area. So that's why we have little details like this that I added in. Crates, boxes, pipes and stuff everywhere around the area. And just to really fill everything in, it took a long time to do this. It was probably the area of the park that I spent the most amount of time on. I might have said that before about the apocalyptic area, but no, this one I think I did spend more time on. And if you know your coasters, you obviously can see that this is hugely inspired by Fly. We call this one 0G, so these are the stats. It's a Vekoma flying coaster. Here we go. So that's it then, the final coaster for the park. Obviously, like I say, you can see this is inspired by Fly, almost ripped off from the idea. Different layout, because to be honest I have no idea how the layout of Fly would have been anyway. But it's yeah, based on the new type of Vekoma flying coaster. So I used a track from the inverted coaster and the train from the B&M Fly that you get with the game. And it's got 3 inversions, I think. 3 or 4 inversions on it, and it obviously meanders around these different sections of the Steampunk area. This is my favourite building, the Steampunk, just inspired by a Google reference image that I found. I think it sits nicely next to this hot air balloon, which also I think is really cool. Those are my favourite parts of the area. Then just some generic sort of steampunky, Victorian-y buildings in the background. Same for the station, just going for the Victorian idea. Try not to use too many cogs and stuff and pipes, but obviously you do need a bit of that in a steampunk area. And then here is the station, which is very Victorian. I love this clock tower. I think that looks really cool. And the steam engine as well, which all of this took so long to build. Just built some sort of water and foliage and rockwork and stuff as well to fill in space. You probably wouldn't normally have this much greenery in a steampunk area, but I really needed to just fill it out, and I couldn't think what else to do, to be honest. We've got a Ferris wheel working here as a machine in the back of this factory building, and yeah, that's it. You have seen the entire park now. Some backstage areas here, and that will take us, well, if we go this way, sorry, I'm just jumping around all over the place here. This is the latest thing I built in the last episode, which if you've been following the series you'll probably remember anyway. And this is how I finished everything off, just some nice open pathing and stuff to get you from one area to the next. Not too many dead ends or anything in this park, you can make your way all the way through. And yeah, now you will see the frame rate drop as we move out and scroll out and look at the park in its entirety. So this is everything as far out as it will let me go, and we're getting, it's not too bad actually, we're getting 15 FPS. Well, the game must have been optimised because there's far more pieces in this than any of my other parks, and before when I was doing this it was going down to like 5-6 FPS. But yeah, you can just see how heavily themed this park is. Zoom in and take a quick look at the outside of the park and the backstage. This is a sort of staff lunch area, I guess, where they've got a staff room and somewhere to sit in. This is the depot, which I didn't add any detail to because I think I didn't cover it up or anything, because I think it looks fine the way it is, to be honest. The staff car park is here. The only thing that probably isn't realistic is you would have roads going all the way around the back to connect all the staff areas, whereas here they probably do have to walk through the park a bit. But you know, I didn't want to go crazy with the backstage stuff, so that's how we kept it. This is the car park or parking lot. Very simple parking garage, sort of like the ones there at Universal Studios. Onto the road system, which was quite complicated. None of this was done on camera. This is all done before I started work on the park. The first episode was the entrance building, so this was all in place before. The hotel I worked on recently with the monorail going in and out. Obviously, I do apologise, but I couldn't think of a way of sorting this out. This should connect up, but we're just going to have to make believe that it does, because I built it last. The road systems, you couldn't put them in building outside park boundaries, and the cheap mod wasn't working for me. So it is what it is. Quick look at the hotel again. Luxury Renaissance resort themed, sort of like a cruise ship. Looks pretty cool, that one. Freedom 2K Nightmare that was. And yeah, oh, you can see the monorail going there across the park. Unfortunately, it's only got 2 trains because of the station in here, but that's just how it has to be. And then you make your way back to the entrance, and there we go. That is it. That is Fantasy Kingdom, the complete park. I can't believe we've got there. We've done it. Thanks so much to everyone that's watched the series, that's commented, that's subscribed, that's liked the channel. I really do appreciate it, because you guys give me great tips on what to, you know, how to improve stuff, what would look great in the park. Some of the rides wouldn't have even been there if it wasn't through YouTube comments and stuff. So thank you all so much for your input and being part of this series. I will share this on the Steam Workshop so you can all download it, although there'll be a list of about 50 mods probably, but then hopefully a lot of you have got most of those mods anyway. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of the series. I can't believe it's done. This is it though for me for Sandbox parks for a long while now. Like I say, moving forward, we're just going to do smaller projects for a while that take up a bit less of my time, hopefully. But yeah, like I say, once again, I hope you really enjoyed this series as much as I enjoyed building it. And that will be it for Fantasy Kingdom. Thank you, and goodbye.